We talk to our AI assistants all the time. We've all done it. Hey, what's the weather? Play my favorite song. Tell me a joke. The AI hears the words, no problem. But is it actually listening to how we say them? Well, it turns out there's a pretty huge gap between an AI just hearing sounds and actually truly understanding what they mean. So, how can we even tell if they're really listening? You know what? Let's try a quick experiment, right here, right now. It's super simple. All you have to do is listen to me say just one little phrase. Okay, you ready? Here it is. I am so happy. Right. You and I both know I didn't mean that at all. You instantly got the sarcasm, didn't you? And why is that? It's because you're not just hearing the words. You're listening to my tone, the emotion, the inflection behind them. But for some of the most advanced AIs out there today, that simple little thing we just did, it's a massive, massive challenge for them. And that simple test, well, it gets right to the heart of a huge problem that researchers are grappling with. Are these super powerful AI models genuinely hearing the sound of our voices? Or are they just kind of cheating, reading a transcript and taking a guess? See, here's the problem with how we usually test these things. In most of the standard benchmarks, the audio and the text line up perfectly. So if someone is saying sad words, they say them in a sad tone. If they're talking about a kitchen, you hear kitchen sounds. This makes it pretty much impossible to figure out if the AI is actually understanding the sound, or if it's just taking a shortcut and relying on the text. This whole thing happens so often, it actually has a name. It's called text dominance. And it's exactly what it sounds like. The AI gets so focused on the text that it just ignores everything else. The best way to think about it is like you're talking to someone who only reads lips. Yeah, they get the words you're saying, but they completely miss your tone of voice, your emotion. They miss the real meaning. So to really expose this weakness, a team of researchers from Oxford and other universities came up with something brilliant. They designed a whole new benchmark with one goal in mind: to set the perfect trap for any AI that isn't really listening. Okay, so let's break down how these traps actually work. The researchers created these direct contradictions between the sound and the words in 3 really clever ways. First up, you've got clashing emotions. That's our "I am so happy" example, but said in a totally depressed voice. Then there's conflicting background noise. Imagine someone saying the word quiet, but all you hear is blaring city traffic. And finally, my personal favorite, mismatched speaker identity. The text might say, "I miss my granddaughter," but the voice you hear is a little boy. For the AI to pass any of these, it has to do one thing: trust the sound over the words. But wait, they didn't just stop there. That would be too easy. To really figure out where these AIs would break, they didn't just set a single trap. Oh no, they created 3 escalating levels of deception. Okay, so level 1, that's the basic trap we just talked about. Simple conflict. But level 2 gets a lot sneakier. Here, the audio is totally neutral, but they give the AI a misleading text prompt, something like, "The speaker sounds clearly devastated," just to see if it's gullible. And then there's level 3, the ultimate test. This one combines both a conflict in the audio and a misleading prompt. They're basically pushing the AI from 2 different directions to ignore what it hears. So what you have is this framework that just systematically cranks up the pressure. As you go from level 1 to level 3, it's like the noise from the text just gets louder and louder, backing the AI into a corner. And the big question is, will it trust what it hears, or is it going to cave to all that textual pressure? So the researchers took 7 of the world's absolute top audio AI models. We're talking systems from giants like Google and OpenAI, and put them through this gauntlet. And the results? Well, they were pretty darn alarming. So, how'd they do? Did these top-tier AIs prove that they are, in fact, truly listening? Or did they walk right into those traps? Oh, they fell for the traps. Big time. Across the board, pretty much every single one of these supposedly super advanced systems showed a massive pattern of text dominance. When the pressure was on, they almost always sided with the text. Just take a look at this. This chart here shows how one of the top models did on the emotion test. At level 1, the basic trap, its acoustic robustness score is already a pretty dismal 11.2 out of 100. Not great. But by the time you get to level 3, with all that pressure from the text and the prompt, its ability to trust the sound just completely collapses. We're talking down to almost 0. It essentially goes deaf to the actual emotion in the person's voice. And look, this wasn't just one bad apple. The performance was all over the place. On that speaker identity test, the best model only scored a 45, but then you look at something like GPT-4 Audio, it scored a shocking 2.7. A score that low suggests it might just be turning everything it hears into a transcript and completely ignoring all that rich, useful information in the audio itself. So all of this points to this really crucial idea the researchers call the perception-trust gap. And here's what that means in simple terms. The AI can often perceive the changes in the sound. Its systems can register that sad tone of voice. So the problem isn't with its ears, it's with its brain. The part of the AI that makes the final decision, probably because it's been trained on just mountains and mountains of text, just systematically ignores the sound and defaults back to the words. It hears the evidence loud and clear, but it just doesn't trust it. Okay, so this is all super interesting from a nerdy research point of view, right? But why should you and I care? Well, as we start to weave these AIs more and more into our daily lives, this little flaw starts to have some pretty serious real-world consequences. I mean, just think about it. This means your AI assistant could hear you say, "I'm fine," in a really distressed voice, and just take you at your word, completely missing that you might actually need help. Or in a critical situation, it might fail to recognize the sound of a smoke alarm in the background just because the words being spoken have nothing to do with a fire. This isn't just some technical bug. It's a fundamental breakdown in how these systems understand reality. And that, right there, is a huge problem for building trust. And that really brings us to the final and most critical question of all. We're building these systems that are supposed to perceive and interact with our complex, messy, human world. But if the AI can't even trust what it hears, how can we ever truly trust it?